What's going on, everybody? Everybody's talking about Tank right now. Tank mentioned retirement a few times yesterday in the Brooklyn press conference with Lamont Roach Jr. Now, since the fight has been announced, I haven't made any content on Tank and Lamont Roach fighting. And what I'm going to say about this fight is what I've said about every other Tank fight that we've got. Lamont Roach is a good fighter. I like Lamont Roach. I like him. I liked Frank Martin. I like Mario Barrios. I thought the Ryan Garcia fight was a huge fight, so it was necessary. Um, these are good guys, and Lamont Roach is another good fighter. He's a champion. I've been following his career for a good amount of time. I'm very familiar with him. He's a good fighter. He's a very good fighter. But again, just like everybody else, this is not a fighter that is on Tank's level. He's not on Tank's level. He is not a fighter that I feel that Tank is any danger in going into the fight. Now, if Tank happens to lose or the fight ends up being tougher than what we expected it to be, it is what it is. But I'm talking about the matchup itself. The matchup itself. This guy is not on Tank's level. And as a Tank fan, I have been dying to see him face one of these super elites. You know, I wanted him to fight Devin Haney. I wanted him to fight Shakur Stevenson. I wanted him to fight Lomachenko for years. I wanted him to fight Teofimo Lopez. These are the guys I really wanted him to fight. Now, there were two contenders. And again, I have to add Ryan. I know he fought Ryan. It made sense. He should have fought Ryan. It was a super big fight. But those guys I just mentioned, Ryan was less accomplished than all of those other fighters. He was still prospect level, damn near. He's just popular. Now I know he's beaten Devin Haney recently with all the drama that came with that fight, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But Ryan Garcia, it wasn't on the level of those other guys I just named at the time. It's just that he was just way more popular, so that made sense. But outside of him, I liked the Frank Martin fight because Frank was one of the two top contenders at the division at the time, along with William Zepeda. You know what I mean? So I got that. I understood these fights. Like I was cool with that fight. I was happy with the fight. I loved the matchup. All right, but Roach is good. I think going into the fight, I think he might be a little bit more skillful than Frank Martin, and I think mentally he might be stronger going into the fight too. But I think ability wise, I think Frank Martin had more to offer Tank in that fight. It's just that I think Frank was fighting extremely too intimidated by Tank to actually win that fight. All right, I think with Roach and him being familiar with Tank, never fought on this level before as a pro, but him being familiar with Tank and just skillfully, not against, again, I don't think overall ability he's greater than Frank, but I just think that, he has a good chin. He's a solid boxer. He's a solid boxer. It's not a bad fight. It's just like, the fight's gonna be in Brooklyn. Like I kind of want to go because I've never seen Tank fight before, you know. And I'm saying all this because I'm definitely gonna get into some shit in this video. I'm just setting it up, but I've never seen Frank fight before. I mean, I'm sorry, not Frank. Tank. I always wanted to see him fight. I am a big fan. I do think he's a phenomenal fighter, but I can't stand who he picks to fight. Like I just can't stand it. Like I'm still not over the fact he fought Rolly Romero. You know what I mean? Like Rolly was probably the worst champion in boxing at when he won a title. When he won a title. All right. But him at the presser, and he was talking about he's done after next year and all that. He was saying all this stuff about how he's done, and his frustration, I think, is realistic. I think some of it is true, but at the same time, I just say like I don't know exactly why he's leaving, but what I will say is this, and this is based on patterns. This is not the first time that Tank said something or had an issue leading into a fight that no one cared about, where he said something that was going to be the rollout for the fight. You know what I mean? Like Lamont has been doing, I seen him doing a bunch of interviews for the past month, like on a bunch of different channels and stuff. Like he's been active, he's been out there. Once they announced the fight, not officially, but even before officially, he's been out there. But when it came to Tank, we didn't really hear nothing from Tank, like besides some Twitter beef or whatever every now and then. Tank saying that he's gonna retire at the press conference was the rollout for this fight. This is what got everybody to talk about this fight now. It's just him saying, I'm gonna leave after this year. I want to fight 3 more times in 2025 or whatever, and then I'm out. I'm done with this. That's the rollout for the fight. I mean, literally, I checked my feed. I watched it. Everybody was talking about it, and it's the rollout for the fight. Just like it was the rollout for other fights when him and Floyd seemed to be beefing with each other. You know what I mean? And Floyd would be at the fight. Like whenever there's a fight that no one really cared about, and there was no history and there was no real way to sell the fight, there was always some tension between him and Floyd or something that was going on. So I personally don't think he's gonna really retire. You know what I mean? I don't think he's gonna fight 3 times this year neither. I just think that maybe he feels like that, but also it's the one controversial thing that was said to make people talk about this fight. Another thing is too, like the problem is with Tank, and I was saying this earlier, it's like maybe he feels like he wants to leave because he lacks motivation. Like maybe he's made enough money to say, like, I don't really need to keep doing this. You know, maybe he feels that way, but if you don't challenge yourself and you just going on the same comfortable routine of fighting selected guys that you're gonna beat, like and everybody else know, not just you, because you're supposed to be confident in yourself, but most boxing fans feels like this is not a fight that no one was asking for. When you go so long with this same routine, it's just like, man, how do you stay motivated to want to fight? I mean, at this point, you're just doing it for the check. You don't really like this. You're just getting a phone call and you're taking a fight. All right, time to pay the bills. That's what I see in it. Also, I think there's a part of Tank that, and I don't want to keep saying what is it, Tank or his team or Al Heyman. I don't want to keep using that excuse. That's his point, because you're the fighter at the end of the day. But I will say is like maybe he is scared to lose. I have to say it. Like maybe he is scared to lose. Because I thought when he beat Pedraza, he was ready for Loma back then. You know what I mean? I think Pedraza was the one fight that I was unsure of, only because Tank wasn't improving yet. You know what I mean? So I thought at that time that was the one fight that was like, man, I don't know if Tank is gonna win. I think this is too soon. But hearing him say, like, in interviews, like Floyd tried to set him up against him or against Rolly Romero about how they wanted me to lose. And when I hear stuff like that, it makes me feel like you want to be pampered into fighting guys that's easy for you to beat. Like it seems like every time you have a fight and you feel like it's a fight, I don't know in your mind, because I mean, even a Rolly thing, like how could anyone pick Rolly to fight you thinking that Rolly is gonna beat you? Everybody in the world knew that Rolly was trash. I mean, he could punch hard, but he was literally the least skilled boxer that Tank probably ever fought at a high level. And When he says stuff like that, it makes me feel like he's not confident in himself. Like he doubts himself. And I'm sure all these fighters have a fear of losing a fight, but I think with Tank, like as good as I think he is, and even these guys that I named earlier, like Teal and all these Shakur, I think he beat, if not all, most of them. But it makes me like question, like, is he really confident in himself? Like, because his fans, including myself, believe that he's like a pound for pound level fighter when I look at his skill set, but when I look at his resume, there's no dangerous fights there. I can't compare him to Usyk, Crawford, Inoue, even Canelo, like guys that took a fight that their promoter didn't want them to take. Look what's happening with Floyd Schofield right now. And Oscar not really wanting that fight. But they pushed the Schofields, him and his pops pushed for that fight. They wanted the fight. It reminds me of like, and that's Oscar. Oscar is very, very calculated with the matchmaking. He's always been. But it was no different from Lara and Canelo. Once Lara stepped up and ruined his press conference, Canelo did not care about what Oscar was talking about. Like he wanted Lara next. It was a ridiculous style matchup. Terrible fight stylistically for Canelo, but he wanted to take the fight. There's too many opportunities there when these guys that I name Inoue going up to 122, fighting the best guy in Stephen Fulton on his first fight up. For all the people that was saying, yo, he ain't really fighting nobody, he just beat up Donaire. He ain't fighting nobody else. Well, he went up to fight Fulton. Fulton's undefeated, and he was in his prime. He was, unified. We already know. Where's the risk? Where is the risk? Like you're risking everything to go in the ring. But compared to the other elites, what are you risking? Even Keyshawn fighting Gustavo Lemos recently when the guy came in super overweight, wanted to have a huge weight advantage over him, and he destroyed him anyway, washed him. That is what we are looking for from the elite. We looking for something to separate you and everybody else. We know you look good. You knock out good fighters. Isaac Cruz is a good fighter. Mario Barrios is a good fighter. Like it's good fighters you fought, but we all expected the same result before the fight started. So what is the problem? Another thing is too, man, to do media for a Tank fight, I'd probably be scared to do it because they probably revoke my credentials because I'm gonna ask the tough questions. It seemed like whenever they ask him tough questions, he barks on the media, like whoever's there. And this is not just for this fight. I'm just saying in other fights too. Even when Leonard Ellaby came at this dude on YouTube, uh Blue Bloods. He's like, oh, you that guy on YouTube that be talking and be hating on Tank. Like, I mean, look, I don't know what Blue said about him. I don't know. But if you're doing media and you ask certain questions, he gets triggered. I be feel like these guys are about to get ejected for asking certain questions. Like you gotta laugh at them, you gotta be nice. Stuff like that makes me feel like Tank is not really comfortable. Like he likes to be pampered. I really believe that. And guess what? I could be a fan of somebody, but still tell it out how it is. Like I'm a big fan of Tank. I was thinking about even going to the fight because it's in Brooklyn, but I'm gonna say how it is. I was the same way with Deontay Wilder. I pulled up at the fights all the time with Wilder when they were here in New York. And people would see me there and run up on me like, yo, Boxingwave, yo, everything's all good. Yeah, we'll talk and go back and forth about what I've said in videos. But I wasn't afraid to go to the fights. It didn't make me dislike Wilder. I still like was entertained by his fight. But when it comes to like quality, they're good, but they're not dangerous opponents. Not dangerous. They're good, but not dangerous. And when you look at a list and say, oh, world champions. I fought this amount of world champions. Okay, we know you did. Floyd used to say the same shit. I fought 20 different world champions or something, former world champions, or 20, 25, whatever it is. But even Floyd put himself at risk in certain fights. I'm still yet to see that, not since Pedraza. And we can't end your career thinking that Pedraza was the scariest opponent going into the fight. But again, how do you argue this at this point? He's saying he doesn't care about titles. He doesn't care about legacy. He cares about getting paid. And I feel him with that because the sport don't love you. So I feel you. If you just want to get paid, then that's what it is. But I'm keeping you there. I don't put you in the same mix of all the other guys because yeah, Shakur had his boring fights. You know what I mean? He disappointed fans. Devin Haney lost. Yeah, a lot of people say what they want. Teofimo, all these guys lost or they struggled in fights or didn't perform well. But they took the challenge. They took that risk. They took on fights where people didn't think they would win. They were underdogs or whatever. You know what I mean? Or they collected belts, they unified. You know what I mean? Like, since Tank is not about that, and he says consistently that he's not about that, then how high am I gonna keep holding him to this high level of skill and talent? Because you're not like the rest of them. You all about this cut me the check and I'm out. Just put me in there in the ring with whoever you guys want to put me in there with. That's what I get from Tank. You know, you guys may feel differently about that, but anyway, leave your comments. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Um, Not a bad fight. Again, not a bad fight, but it's the same of what we've been getting. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people. I know some people will say, "Well, Shakur didn't duck them, or whatever." No, I'm talking about his whole career. I'm talking about the whole career. You know what I mean? The whole thing. You know what I mean? Not just Shakur signed with the Zone. I get that. He signed with the Zone, 2-fight deal, whatever. I get that. What happened before he signed with the Zone though? Was there an offer sent from PBC? Was a reasonable offer sent when this guy was unsigned, when he left Top Rank and he was a free agent? What offer did he get? I want to know that too. I want to know everything. I'm not trying to put the blame on him, but the whole career is based on that. You know, I know Lomachenko ducked him recently. Lomachenko don't want to fight right now. He doesn't want to fight Shakur. He doesn't want to fight Tank. All right, cool. What about all the other years though? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we just can't talk about what's recently. I want to know about the whole thing. Like, there's been no fights. Now on a level that I believe Tank is on. Anyway, I'm out. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm out. Peace.